Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Michael Winston.
Thank you. Does that sound good? Am I too loud? Am I freaking the camera out?
You're good.
Okay. You guys in the front row, I'm sorry this is going to be hitting you over and over again. I'm a pacer, so I've got to keep pacing. How's the day going so far? It's going really well. I am not Dean Neely, so I did not bring basketball tickets or football tickets. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm a letdown already. But we are going to talk about some amazing, amazing things. So if you have a pen, if you have a pencil, I want you to be using it. I think that a part of coming to a leadership conference is that you're going to find a nugget of wisdom in what everyone says. All of your facilitators, I know most of them, they're amazing human beings. They're laying down some great brilliance. I looked through your packets this morning. You guys are talking about your values and the values of the people around you. You need to be taking notes on who you can connect with on your time at this campus to try to make the most impact you can have. So today we're going to talk about how you can engage yourself and others more so in that process. Have you guys talked about the framework, the Kouze and Posner's leadership framework as a whole? These guys are brilliant. Jim Kouze and Barry Posner created this framework in 1987 as a way to truly maximize what introverts and extroverts could do in their leadership lives. Enabling others to act is my favorite of the five. I was really excited when they invited me to speak on this particular one because I think it's the one that gives you the most power to develop yourself and to make a huge impact in the world. So let's start with this picture. If you ask me for a 5-pound note, it's Britain. If you ask me for a 5-pound note, you can have one. Is this person enabling or making someone do something?
Enabling.
Enabling. Why? Giving him an option. It's a choice. These are the words that you need to remember when you're thinking about what it means to enable someone to act. It's not positional. It's not authoritative. You're not saying, go do this. You're giving someone a choice to make a difference. You're saying, I'm going to give you the tools to be awesome. In this case, awesome is money. In this case, awesome is, I'm going to give you something, but all you have to do is ask. I'm not just going to hand it to you. I'm not going to identify that you have a need and just give it to you and make it easy. I'm going to say, I will help you. I have the resources and the tools, but you have to also meet me halfway and ask. That is what enabling others to act is all about. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Maybe. Okay, I guess I'm not using this. Thank you, B. So, my pat to this point, I think it's important to know who's standing in front of you and talking to you. I am a KU student over and over and over again. I have a really hard time leaving this place. I was an undergrad. I went to Blueprints my sophomore year. I got to help lead Blueprints my junior and senior years. And I graduated with an English degree, an American Studies degree, so I'm a humanist. I love Wesco Hall, even if it looks like a parking garage. And then I went away for a couple of years and did Teach for America in Newark, New Jersey. I got to be in a classroom that's one of the most diverse in the country. I love teaching. I love my kids. It was a powerful and transformational experience, and if you're thinking about TFA, just say yes. Just do it. Lean into it. It's really, really hard, but it'll change your life. So there's that plug. Then I came back in 2013 to do my MBA at KU because the woman who introduced you, or who talked to you this morning, Dean Neely, called me on the phone and said, you got to come, and I told her no, and then she called again, and I told her no, and you can't tell Neely Bendaputi no 3 times. You should try. You should absolutely try. You can't do it. So I came back from my MBA to KU, and then, a week and a half ago, started a job as her Director of External Affairs at the KU School of Business. So I'm a Jayhawk, then a Jayhawk, and now a Jayhawk staff member. So if you get hooked in this place and you get too close to Neely, you'll stay forever and ever and ever and ever. But it's a good problem. So if you look up here, this is the new business school building. And at the very end of that red terrace there, that apparently is called Sedum, if you go up a little bit and over to the right one little window, that's going to be my window, and I'm really excited about it. So now you know, and you can come see me in my office, and we can talk about leadership and enabling others to act, and it'll be awesome. So, bam, thank you. This is so much better than actually clicking the button. Today I want to talk about enabling others to act, ACT. So to enable others to act, we're going to allocate, communicate, and trust. These are the 3 steps that you need to think about to make sure that you're always enabling others to act. And enabling others to act has 50% about other people and is 50% about ourselves. So we want to walk through each of these. But first, does anybody know what this moment is? What's this historical period in this picture? Sir?
Mid-60s.
It's definitely in the mid-60s. Absolutely. Yes?
Is it Martin Luther King being presented the Nobel Peace Prize?
No, not this one. Not this one. President Johnson was not there for that one. Should have been. Yes, sorry.
Is that signing like the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act?
Signing of the Voting Rights Act. This was right after the Voting Rights Act was signed. President Johnson stands up from his signing desk and starts shaking the hand of some of the civil rights leaders that were present, including Dr. King. This is a moment that absolutely embodies what it means to enable others to act. How many of you saw the movie Selma? Okay, a handful. In this moment in history, we were plagued by power dominating and oppressing an entire group of people. Black Americans could not get out of this by themselves. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X were leading movements to try to push their people to identify that there was a problem and to fight back, but they couldn't do it on their own. Lyndon Baines Johnson, the president at the current time, was very hesitant to engage in the process of giving black Americans their rights. He said, no, it's not the right time. We'll do it sometime. It'll happen in the future. We can't do that right now. Martin Luther King said, I'm going to enable him to act. I'm going to make him make the choice he needs to make this change. So he started boycotting. He started marching. He started raising people up around him peacefully, non-violently, in a way that made LBJ have to make the choice to do and be better. Because of those things, where Martin Luther King intentionally said, I am going to lay the seeds and plant the foundation, that's wrong. Lay the foundation and plant the seeds, you can't mix those two, that got weird, such that we are going to change the world. We are going to change the world, and he did that by enabling others to act. So I want to walk through what it means to allocate, communicate, and trust. Bam. BAM will be my word. So we have ACT, we're going to climb a mountain, we're going to be pulling people up along with us. But ACT is just an acronym. To truly talk about the process you're going to work through, we have to flop them. So BAM. And BAM again. So, acronym is ACT, so you can remember it, but in practice it happens TCA. So let's talk about trust. This is what trust looks like. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Children and puppies, like we can't get better than that on a Saturday morning. Trust is twofold. To enable others to act, you first have to trust yourself. You have to trust yourself to say, I am good enough, what I contribute is enough, I am capable enough, and what I produce will be good enough. How many of you came today to Blueprints not knowing anybody else in this room? A couple. You guys have an amazing opportunity. And I'm not talking about the three who had their hands up who didn't know anybody. I'm talking about those of you around them who came here with a buddy, who came here with a friend, who came here knowing somebody. You have an opportunity to go and find those three people and help them maximize along their journey. That's taking responsibility. That's working to enable others to act, to bring them into your fold, to bring them into your groups. Find out what they're great at and help them lead in your space, and then go out and do it somewhere else. Trust in yourself that you have the skill set to be great, but also search for it in other people. So when you're looking for that trust in other people, and I want to make sure I say everything I wanted to before I move to the next point, you have to believe that those around you are pure of heart and competent. I think sometimes as leaders we have a really hard time saying, if I give my power away, if I give my power to someone else, they're not going to deliver like I could have. When I'm in a group project, I say, you know what, I'll just do all of the work myself because y'all are crazy and I don't have the time for that. I'm going to have to edit all at the end anyway. You have to accept that other people are good enough, competent enough, and strong enough. And you have to trust that, because it's not about getting 100% every time for you. It's about making sure that when you build that team and bring them together, that every single time you're getting 90%, 95%, and pushing the limit each and every time you come together. That is what leadership trust looks like. Leadership trust is not about you being perfect. It is about your group being continuously more and more excellent. And that's about trust. Bam. So, now we have communicate. This is the great American sport of curling. If you don't watch curling, I recommend it. You need to go onto YouTube and look up curling. Curling is brilliant. If you want to learn about leadership, if you want to learn about communication, go Google curling. I keep stepping on this and I'm going to fall over and die. In curling, I don't know what any of these positions' names are. I don't know anything about the rules of this sport. I don't know how it scores, but I kind of think that there's this big rock that you throw down and it has to get close to some center circle-y thing and not get bounced out by someone else's big rock. So that's my sophisticated understanding of curling. But when I watch this sport, and I watch it every time the Olympics come around, and I watch it on YouTube sometimes when I want to laugh because I think curling is hilarious. But when I watch these guys, they throw this rock with such seriousness, completely unspoken, and then these guys start squeegeeing in the ground, and it's freaky, it's really, really, really intense. They are constantly communicating about what their end goal is. They are constantly talking about where we're headed. They are constantly in communication with their bodies, with their words, with the sounds, with the intensity of their sweeping motions about where we are going. They can see as that gigantic rock is hurtling down, hurtling at like 0.00002 miles per hour, just hurtling down. They can tell where it's going to end up. They see and communicate with each other in verbal and nonverbal ways that they have a goal to get to. That is what enabling others to act looks like. It is constant feedback. When you guys are working in your teams, we often wait until the end to do feedback. We wait until the end to say, okay, how did that go? What was good? What was bad? Enabling others to act is real time. It happens in real life. To make sure that you're enabling others to act, you have to be giving continuous feedback. When you see that the rock is moving a little bit too fast, you got to scrape a little bit slower. If you see it's moving too slow, you got to scrape a little bit faster and create more friction so it can go a little bit further. You have to be in constant update and feedback and create loops within your team that are based on trust and believing that you're all moving towards the same space. And with that type of communication, you all will be able to act a little bit faster. That doesn't work anymore. Bam. Bam. Allocate. This is my favorite one, and I think it's the most important element of enabling yourself and others to act. Allocate is about giving away your power, and it's about developing yourself through others. I want to introduce you to a word called friendtor. I want you to write it down if you got a pen in your hand. Friendtor, it's F-R-I-E-N, a capital T-O-R, that is friendtor. Can anybody tell me what a friendtor is? Friend and mentor. You guys are brilliant. That's why you're here today. You guys need friendtors. You need to develop a network of friendtors that are so strong and so powerful that will constantly keep you in check to make sure that you are always enabling others to act. This is a small selection of my friendtors. These are some of the people I go to most often to make an impact in my life. These are the people who, when I go to, each and every time, if I'm acting the fool, they will say, Michael, that is a horrible idea. That doesn't fit your goals, your values, your principles, your morals at all. They will tell me that. When I was negotiating which jobs I wanted to take in the last few months, these are the people I called. I had a conversation with just about everybody that's pictured there before I had my final decision made. These people keep me in check. These are the people that are enabling me to act. But I had to take the step of initiating a relationship such that they will always give me real feedback. Your best friends, you need to ask yourself, if I'm acting like an idiot, will my best friend tell me? If you don't have a best friend that will tell you when you're acting the fool, you need to change what that relationship looks like. If you don't have a close mentor who will say, I don't know if that fits your values, when you're making an action, taking on a new leadership role, making a decision, you need to work to change that relationship. And that doesn't mean that person is the wrong person. You can keep your best friend. But you need to start a real conversation with that best friend that says, I want you to give me the feedback that's going to make me better, and I'm going to do the same for you. That is what enabling others to act looks like. It's about creating a friendtorship such that your friends become your mentors and they look out for you and you look out for them in such a way that you're moving towards your shared goal, your vision. You guys are going to be talking about visions at the end of the day, inspiring a shared vision and moving towards that. You can't get there if you haven't given away some of your power. You can't get to it unless you say, I'm willing to have others help me be better. And I'm willing to give that same kind of critique and feedback to others. In this list, I have people who are my family, my dad in the middle on the far left, Dean Neely, who spoke to you this morning. I have a bunch of faces that you'll know from the union, some faces in the center that I met through Student Senate. In the bottom right-hand corner, two of my professional mentors are speakers, Patty and Byron. They speak all around the country. They both make about $1.5 million a year just doing speaking. They work for about 3 months a year and make that much money. It blows my mind. So, crazy mentors. Teach for America. Fatima is one of my teaching mentors. Devin, one of my best friends. The great and powerful Mary Clater. If you don't know her, you should. This is a group of people who changes my life every day. And my hope for you in your journey of leadership and in your journey of enabling yourself and others to act is that you find a group of people who you know can do this for you in such a way that you are willing to put them on a PowerPoint and make yourself accountable to them. When you see these people, for the ones that you know, they might hear that they were on this picture. They might hear about me claiming that this is the relationship that we have, and they will confirm that. They will tell you, Cody Charles, every single time I talk to him, every single time I walk through the OMA, Cody makes it a point to challenge me. Every single time. And that's why our relationship works. And I do the same for him. You have to develop these relationships such that everyone is moving you forward intentionally, and that's a conversation that you're having. That you're starting out every relationship knowing that allocation of my power to someone else means I have to admit that growth needs to happen. And as soon as you can do that, as soon as you can take on the humility to know that you can get better and know the ways that you need to get better, you're going to start developing these types of relationships, and they are going to make everything different and better. Enabling others to act is my favorite of the exemplary practices of leadership. It is one that asks you to do half of the work. And that's exciting. With all of the others, it's all on you. It's all on you. With this one, it is all about sharing the experience. It's all about finding other people to engage in a process to make you and the world better. It's my favorite because it requires you to go out and build relationships and connections. If you leave Blueprints today without having 5 new people to engage in this type of relationship, in this type of friendship, well, that's pretty exciting. You have to develop these types of relationships. They're going to change the way you work at KU. How many of you are involved in at least one student organization at KU? 2? 3? 4? 5? Wow. The networks that are in this room, the abilities to overlay and interlock your experiences and to grow together are huge. If you take the time over the next 2 hours to meet people and ask the right questions, ask them what's most important to them. Ask them what the impact that they're going to leave at KU is going to be. Ask them how you can help. Ask them what they need to develop to be better. Tell them that you're going to hold them accountable. And tell them here, you might not know them that well, but it's okay to start holding them accountable for their excellence and their awesomeness, and they're going to do the same for you. Enabling others to act is all about this process. I'm excited to talk to you guys today. I hope, in the next slide, that we're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A, and I hope that you have some questions and thoughts. I didn't want to talk for too long. I probably already talked for too long. But I think that in this type of session, that when you're really thinking about diving into leadership, that one of the most useful ways to explore that process is to ask about something that's happening in your world, and let's talk about it. Wow, we are ready. Let's talk about it. Bam.
All right, I'm pretty busy in a week. I'm just wondering, how often do you talk to these people or ask them questions to challenge yourself?
It's a brilliant question. It is not about frequency, it's about quality. You're pretty busy in a week, and being pretty busy in a week means that you don't have time to spend 4 hours a day in constant feedback loops. I get it. I get it 1,000%. During a week, though, how many decisions do you make that are weighty enough and important enough that you think that they might have some kind of significant impact on your future? And they're not just I'm going to class, I'm going to class, I'm going to work, I'm da-da-da-da. Just a few times a week. That's how many times you should be engaging that group. And not everybody, but 1 or 2 people from that group. You could do it all with one person on a Saturday and say, these are the 3 things that happened during the week. Can you help me process these things? So during your week, identify what those places are of significance and importance and find those people to engage. And if they're close enough, like Neely, I work with Neely now, she's down the hallway. She is one of the most intuitive people I've ever met in my life. I'm generally happy. I will always put on a happy face. She will do the same thing, but when she walks by my office, if I'm a little bit off, she'll say, what's going on? Talk to me. What's happening? I'm like, get out of my head, get out of my head. That is the kind of relationship you want to start to create. So maybe you don't even have to say it, they'll notice it in you. Yes?
So with the allocating and your voucher, sometimes hard to be vulnerable, so what advice do you have for that?
I think you should find a place to cry in public. I think that crying publicly is one of the most therapeutic and cathartic experiences you could ever have. I remember the first time I cried in public was in 7th grade and I was mortified. It was a really traumatic experience that we don't need to talk about right now, but if you ever want to drop by my office, I'll tell you, and I think I can laugh about it now. The second time I cried in public was not until I came to KU. I lived a past life. I grew up in a home that was very complicated and complex and was such that I cried at home a lot. But I wouldn't take that out, and I would not be vulnerable. I would not show to the world that I didn't have it all together until I came to KU. And when I came to KU, I started developing these types of relationships and found out that the struggles I was living were not the only ones, and that they weren't nearly as bad as some. And that I had an obligation to start helping those people that were a little bit worse off, and that they empowered me to know that it was okay to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is really hard. I would start with finding a place to do it publicly. Because once you break down the walls of vulnerability in a big open space, everything is easier. If you haven't done Leadership, apply for Leadership. Leadership is a place where you will cry publicly. You will sit there in a big room full of people, some of the greatest leaders and the future greatest leaders at KU, and you will cry publicly. Find those places. Go to K-Unity. Go to K-Unity. You will find spaces to cry publicly because you will be challenged. Your beliefs will be challenged. There are organizations and structures that exist at KU where you will break down your walls and become more vulnerable by virtue of being in the space. So that's an amazing question. It is hard to be vulnerable. You could start also, if you don't want to do the big public, find somebody in this room who doesn't know you well and tell them a story. Tell them a simple story that it's hard for you to tell. Before you start talking, tell them, it's hard for me to share this, but I think it's going to be important for me to develop. Maybe you started a relationship here today with someone that you know is going to be a friend in the future. Take that moment today to share with them, to open up. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. It doesn't have to make you super uncomfortable. But start the process of opening yourself to vulnerability right now.
Can you talk about what time during your undergraduate years here at KU you really were able to use like this particular skill that you're going to use?
I'm trying to think of a good place to start. I was an egotistic, an amazing question. You said what was the question? What was a time in my undergraduate career at KU that I was able to employ enabling others to act? When I was in high school, I was a student leader for a fairly large national organization, and we were some of the first to pilot this framework, the Kouze and Posner framework. It was developed in '87, but they re-released it in 2008 as the Student Leadership Challenge, and the organization I was leading at the time was one of the first to pilot this curriculum. So I was introduced to this language a long time ago, and I remember coming to KU and deciding that I wanted to employ it immediately because it was something that I bought into and believed in. However, I was a very egotistic, strong-willed, and seemingly powerful because I wasn't ready yet to be vulnerable. I had a really, really hard time doing this one. I modeled the way. I inspired shared visions all over the place. I was in Student Senate. I was in 12 different organizations. I was taking over the world. We were good. I was challenging the process because I thought that my brain was so superior to all of the other student leaders. And I was like, no, you're not doing it right. So I was challenging the process all over the place. I I didn't start enabling others to act until my junior year when I was still speaking. I have a professional speaking company. It wasn't until my junior year of college that I started sharing with people my personal story. I started telling the story about my mother who has schizoaffective disorder, who it's like half schizophrenia and half major depressive disorder. It's one heck of a cocktail of mental health. I don't recommend it, but it was not until then when I accepted that my vulnerability was going to empower me and allow me to grow, and it wasn't until I accepted that I truly started enabling others to act, because then it changed the focus. It was no longer about me being right and bringing a solution to a group. It was about mutual growth. It was about mutual benefit. It was about how are they going to help me overcome my vulnerability and my fear and my weakness, and not just in this area, because that area was covering up tons of stuff. And as soon as I let that out and as soon as I started talking about it, that's when I started actually being the leader that practices these things. And it's a process. Still not great at it, but it wasn't until then. I've never been asked that question before in a session. Thank you. That was really great.
Last question.
If there is like a mentor that you see could be helping you, like you see someone that you want to be your mentor, but you don't have a relationship with them yet, what's the best way to reach out to them?
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I would say I'm both.
Okay, ambivert. I love an ambivert. Okay, I am super abrasive. If I see someone and I'm like, I want them to be my mentor. I've been at a session before and I walked up to them and I said, I would like to email you or call you at some point in the future to learn from you. I think you have a lot of great experience. I would love to continue the conversation. This is my business card. Do you have one? Is that okay if I reach out to you? Super aggressive. I've even said to someone, I'd like you to be my mentor. Will you do that? And 85% of the time, they're going to be like, this is super aggressive and creepy. I can't say no. And then you've got an awesome relationship. You've got the in. So if you are not the extrovert, and I understand that makes some people so uncomfortable, the idea of walking up and being like, you're my mentor, welcome. I get that that's not for everybody. If you're on the other side, find the business card. Find a way to connect with them and just keep the lines open. Send an email. If they don't reply, wait a week. Send another email. Be gracious in your email. I've heard about you from so-and-so. I saw you speak at this conference. I really like what you talked about here. This is what's happening in my life, and I'd like your insight. Be honest, be vulnerable, and show how they can contribute, and those relationships will start happening. It's also great if, can you go back a slide? Thank you. On this list, Mary Clater, Neely Bendapudi, David Mucci. Those three people are my, there's a word that I just lost. Well, I'll use connectors. It's not the word I wanted, but they're my connectors. When I look at my friend tours, if I'm saying I need something specific that's new to develop, I can go to any of those three and they're going to be like, oh my God, I know this person, this person, this person, and this person. Let me connect them to you. And the great thing about David Mucci, Neely Bendapudi, and Mary Clater is if those three people call on anybody that they know and say, I need your help, I need you to do something, those people will respond that minute. It is terrifying. When I was doing my job hunt and I was trying to look for companies that were socially responsible, I told Neely this and she said, oh, I'll send a couple emails today. She sent 8 emails and the next morning I had 8 responses from CEOs of crazy large companies. It was insane. I couldn't even handle that. I was like, Neely, next time, let's do 2. Let's do 2. I can't do 8. It was really overwhelming. Thank you, but wow. Find those types of relationships. You have people in your life already who can connect you. Start asking for a different type of connection. I need a development connection to make me better. And they're going to connect you to someone who would be awesome to pair you with your personality. That's it. Thank you. You guys are great. I'm going to leave. I don't know where they are. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My website is www.intentonsuccess.com. I'm going to, I think they're in my coat. I'm going to grab some business cards. If you guys want to talk to me, my email is mws@ku.edu. My office is in 201C Summerfield. It's in the Dean's Suite in the back. I'm willing to talk about whatever your journey is. I love working with people of all ages on making them better leaders. If you want to get coffee, if you want to have breakfast, let's talk about stuff. I think that your ability to be amazing at KU should be nurtured and fostered by as many people as possible. And if you're looking for a friend-tor to help make you better, let's learn about each other. I'd love to engage you in that process. Thank you.